So you're out and about, you're living your life, and you walk past some kind of a screen and there's a cool image or some animation on it. There's a short message with this intriguing and easy to follow call to action, and you think, wow, that's really engaging. It's fantastic. I think I want that in my organization. I've been seeing this everywhere. It's showing up in more and more places. I think it's time that we also got this. I wonder how much it will cost. And of course, the answer to that question is, it depends. And that's not just a way to avoid having the conversation. It really does depend. It's not a cop-out. And a lot of organizations, to be honest, they go about it the wrong way, cause problems for themselves down the road. They might even end up with a less effective system than they needed or that they wanted because they don't really know the right questions to ask as they're shopping. I mean, you're looking at not just hardware, but software. In fact, you should look for the software first. That's the thing that people use every day and so on. It's the CMS. It's the software where the magic happens. And different companies have different kinds of software available. How do you know which one's the right one for you? I mean, there are now hundreds, no joke, of companies in the marketplace. So how are we supposed to sift through all this and find the one that's right for us? To help us answer some of those questions, we have with us today Ellyce Kelly, Client Relationship Manager for Visix. Hi, Ellyce.
Hi, Derek. Great to see you.
Good to see you. I'd like to thank Ellyce for talking to me today, and we'd like to thank all of you for listening. This is digital signage done right. Whether you're new to digital signage or a seasoned pro, this podcast gives you practical advice about systems, communications, and content to better engage your audience. I'm Derek DeWitt, Communications Specialist for Visix. Welcome to Digital Signage Done Right. Okay, so when I was thinking about this, I kind of came up with what I anticipate are the first 4 questions somebody might ask.
All right,
so I'm going to ask them to you. You're the expert.
Whew. Pressure. Okay.
No pressure. All right. So first off, I saw it. I think it's cool, but my boss is going to ask me, what's the purpose of digital signage? What is it for? Isn't it just electronic posters? What's the answer to that? What do I tell him or her?
That really depends on how it's going to be used. Is it only for organizational communications, meaning is it an internal audience?
Right, employees and so on.
Employees,
yeah.
Yep. Or is it going to be also for public, or is it just going to be for public? So maybe in a lobby, for example, an atrium.
Right. So actually, that's the first thing you got to ask is what's it for? Because I think it'd be different workflows.
It would be different workflows, and also it could be a combination.
Like we see it a lot in airports or shopping centers, and that particular kind of software is designed for that environment.
Very specifically, for example, retail. So you will see this in so that's typically we'll use a point of sale software, and that is different. There are a lot of different softwares out there.
Yeah.
But you need to figure out.
It's not going to work so great at a manufacturing hub or a corporate hub, or
it's not. It's not going to be able to show KPIs at a manufacturing facility.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So unfortunately, there's no easy answer. The answer to what's the overall purpose is what do you want to use it for?
Who's your audience?
Right. Who's
Start
your
with
audience?
that.
All right. How big a budget should I start asking for? Because they're going to ask me about money.
They're going to ask you about money, but don't fall into a trap of thinking short-sightedly. Okay? Because the budget is going to be for at least 18 to 24 months, right? If not longer. But you're going to need to do like a networking survey to make sure you're covering all costs for installing the system. Got to get qualified IT people to look at power, network connectivity, put a bunch of power over Ethernet, beautiful room signs. How are we going to do that? Where, do we have a switch, all that good stuff. Really, this all comes down to 2. You got to get the right people involved, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But do you want to do this before you start hanging screens all over the place and installing room signs and then say, well, how are we going to get that thing powered on? Oh, it's power over Ethernet. Just stick it in the back.
Well, we can't drill a hole through there and stick a cable. This is a historic building.
Exactly. Right. There you go. That you hit the nail on the head.
Well, I mean, the truth is, though, now, maybe a few years ago, not so much, but now I type in digital signage into a search engine, and I see a lot of free digital signage. So why shouldn't I just use this free digital signage? Why should I pay money for it?
Is it really free?
I don't know.
That's my first question when I see that. And a lot of folks that have had free software, quote unquote free, end up coming to us, and it turns out it's really not free.
Right. So why not? Where are the hidden costs?
It could be a number of things, right? So they might have proprietary hardware that goes, that's...
Oh, so the software only plays on their hardware, and by the way, it's got quite a price tag.
Exactly.
Right, I got you.
Even better is their software features are so limited that there's no real support or service.
Right. So it's like, hey, you bought it, and we don't offer support.
Exactly. We don't have a support team.
So it's maybe too simple for what you're trying to accomplish.
Exactly.
Because the fact of the matter is, not all digital signage is the same thing.
No, it's really not.
There are gourmet hamburgers. There's $100 hamburger. Yeah. There's a dirt cheap hamburger. There's
hamburger
White
stand.
Castle.
Yes.
Hamburger stand.
Oh, nothing wrong with White Castle though.
Yeah.
But if you need an entire campus though, you're not going to probably want some free software. I mean, does it have alert features? Can you trigger from a third party CAP compliant? No, most likely not. So you've really got to.
So you got to think again about your circumstances. But if you're looking for something larger, something that's made for enterprise level,
don't fall into the free trap. Right. I know that's a big good word that gets people's attention, but.
Right. Yeah. So you said get the right people involved. Who should be involved in the buying process?
Well, I can tell you who it's not, and it's not one person.
Joseph, it's all on you.
It's all on you.
I expect a report on my desk in 10 days.
And then Joseph is going to be looking for another job, right? So certainly not at the beginning. This needs to be a team effort. I would say the biggest mistake is when maybe an IT person buys the system and has not consulted with anyone else, and then they hand it off to somebody to use.
Right.
And to get all the content up, and they're literally blindsided. I have experienced this quite a bit in my life here, and they don't even know what they're supposed to do. They don't know what they even.
Now you do this. Yes. What is it? Bye.
Think about it. They already have a day job.
Yeah. And
now they have a digital signage responsibility job.
Right.
Or task that's been added to them. So let's get a group together, not just an individual, make it a team effort so that, you've basically got continuity, right? Mm-hmm. No matter what happens with your staff, you've got a team of people. They're going to take it to its fullest potential. Because last thing you want to do is buy something that even if you get content up, what if it doesn't change? It just stays on the same stuff you had on day one?
Yeah, we don't want that.
You just literally threw away all of your money.
So these are basically four things we look at. How much money should we go free? What do we want to use it for? And who should we get involved in this buying process? So if you do that, you probably eliminated a good number of the companies out there. We're not saying they're bad companies, but they're not right for us.
Exactly.
And now we're looking at a few companies. Mm-hmm. So then we have more specific questions when I ask. And I think the first one obviously is, I'm assuming I'm a medium-sized to large-sized organization, company, college, manufacturer, whatever the heck it is. Next question is it specifically for organizational communications? Because if it isn't, I'm going to run into trouble, right?
You mentioned this earlier, actually. You said workflows. Workflows are different in offices and on campuses. Right? So you don't want digital signage software that's made for retailers or airports.
Right, because they're totally different.
Yes, because there's going to be just a few features you might be able to use, and then you're not going to use all of these other features.
Right, because they
don't exist. Which is a waste
of money.
Right.
Because airport digital signage doesn't need to be able to do this and that and the other thing.
Yep.
And another question, I think, is going to be, should I get an on-premises native application or should I do a cloud-hosted solution?
Mm-hmm. So that's
they both have pluses and minuses, right?
They do. So I would say desktop software is going to limit you, right, to a single computer.
Usually.
Unless
you get a site license.
Yes, that's true. And so, but then you get web-based software, and it lets anyone in your organization with a browser access, with a password, of course, to be able to post. And of course, you give them all the access you want, or not all.
You can control it.
Yes, you can control it. But that certainly makes it a lot easier than say a desktop application.
And then there's this idea too of having web-based CMSs, which I know like you guys at Visix make a lot of. And this kind of allows more people to, provided they have the credentials, the authorities, they can contribute. So it's not just, hey, this computer on this desk in this room is the only one that can create and schedule content. Exactly. People can do it from wherever if it's web-based.
Exactly.
And then obviously the next thing to look at is, is it friendly? I mean, does it have a good interface? Does it have good friendly tools? Does it have templates so that I can control the content and how it looks?
So we talk about, like I said, day one. I mean, if you don't have any content to show, or if you get content up on day one and it's just a big old still image, then you're just looking at a poster. right?
Yeah, right.
And then you've bought a really fancy digital
Poster.
Yeah.
The good news is it won't tear.
It will not tear. This is a very good point.
Yeah.
So, but here's the thing, and I'm one of these people. Not everybody is a graphic designer.
Though, I got to be honest and say, as someone who's married to a designer, a lot of people sure think they are.
I was going to say, I like to joke that I'm a PowerPoint master design expert because I can click on a template and make it pretty, and then I think
Slide master.
Slide master. That's right. That is not the same as a graphic designer or multimedia artist. And let's just face it, as much as I don't want to admit it, I am not good at any of that.
Right.
So make sure that your software has some very easy design and scheduling tools, right? So in addition to the designer piece, maybe I'm not super great at computers, or let's make it easy.
Yeah.
I mean, right?
Why not?
Make it easy. So you want good looking templates. Now, everybody knows as soon as you get a template, you want to change it.
Yeah.
Well, it's also nice if the software maybe allows you to allow the designer to not let someone change that template.
Right.
That's something that's a little deeper of a feature, but I'd make sure it's got it if you really care about what's on those screens.
Right. Well, again, it depends, though. I mean, if you know you're going to only have one or two people making content, then you don't need a CMS that has that.
No.
If you know that you want to do something web-based that is going to have multiple contributors, then maybe you should at least have the capability of limiting what they do so that you make sure it always looks good. Because, I mean, I'm not saying people are doing it to be evil or to be trolls or something, but there are people who just think that looks great, and it just doesn't.
Some folks still like clip art.
Yes, back to the clip art.
I'm back to the clip art, I know.
Damn you, clip art.
Yes. So, you got to make sure, again, those workflows, that's something else that's important. Make sure that folks are comfortable with those workflows. I mean, if it's really complicated, and if, let's say we do have somebody in IT who's looking at this, if they think it's clunky.
I've talked to the sales folks, and still the primary purchaser of digital signage that Visix has found anyway is it's usually given to the IT department, but they are not the people who use it.
Right.
So they have a whole different way of approaching how they look at the software and so on. Because they're like, well, no, this workflow makes total sense.
Right.
It's only 15 steps.
Right. Exactly.
And then, the person who's actually in charge of it is going, oh my God, it's 15 steps.
Yeah. And you've got to learn it, right? So there's a lot of pieces. And, there's little things like drag and drop. I mean, I say that's a little thing. We have it. So to me, it's a little thing, right?
It is great to be able to just go and drag it on there and drop it in. Are the workflows intuitive?
Yeah. And can you design in
to
the software?
To a non-IT person?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or can you only import stuff, and that's it? You can import, you can't do anything else. You don't get to change the templates.
Right.
Can you imagine if you had someone who was expecting, well, we need to make this look like our brand, and this needs to look like our school with our school colors, and no, all you can do is import, and you can't change that color. That's not going to work for you.
That's our colors, say the software CMS
exactly.
company.
I don't know who does that, but we don't.
Right. And then again, I think you have to what are you going to use it for?
Yeah.
So what features, what bells and whistles do you want? Does a day part?
Oh, yeah.
Because that could be very useful.
That recurring schedule is critical.
Maybe you might want to create your own templates.
Yes. Yeah. Everybody wants to get a template and change it.
Yeah.
Right?
That's for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
So those are the kinds of things you're looking for.
Yep.
What about, you said it allows you to import things. What about data integration?
Oh,
Is that something I should be looking at maybe?
Yes, absolutely. So if you think about it, a lot of what you're going to put on your screen is already in another system or is another system.
So like event calendar or something?
Event calendars, EMS, Google, Exchange. You can easily import this information. If you think about it, weather, news, Excel, data, dashboards.
So there I'm not really creating the content. Right. I'm simply gathering the content and in my design saying, okay, put it here, put it here, put it here.
Think about KPIs. In my own experience, within literally the last week, a KPI that is already being produced, right? It's already being generated by another software. And now it's up on our screens in the hallway.
In your branded colors with your wheels or bar graphs or whatever you want.
And that literally just shows graphics based on these numbers, but it makes you do something, makes you respond. I mean, that's critical, but not all software allows you to do that.
If you're not going to have dedicated, like a full-time job or 2 or 3 of this is what you do is you deal with the digital signage. If it is going to be part-time, having some kind of data integration and automated content takes a massive load off of those content creators' shoulders.
It really does. And it's something you're already utilizing. It's something that people need to know. If you think about it, a lot of folks are not just dedicated to digital signage. That's what they do all day, every day. They have already had a job in place, and oh, by the way, now you're responsible for this.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So let's make it a little easy on them and also get the audience some useful info.
Right. What about alert messaging modes?
This is obviously very popular. If you think about it, severe weather. So we get a few, 2 or a bazillion tornado warnings every now and then, right? A lot of our customers see those too. Those are pretty much everywhere, certainly in the U.S.
Not in California.
Well,
last year we don't have tornadoes.
Got a fire-nado last year in California.
Oh, I did. I saw that in the news. That's crazy.
And I'd want to know about that if that were coming. So
that's probably not a template yet. Fire-nado. Well, Sharknado.
If you're triggering that from your CAP-compliant third-party Rave Alert or Alertus.
That's true. It would automatically do it, right?
There's many more. I'm just naming those 2 off the top of my head.
Right.
But yes, I bet they've got one.
Yeah.
So
if not, they can do it.
Yes, and they probably will now. So safety alerts, other types of emergency notifications, or you could have a hazmat situation in a science lab, or something along those, or a construction issue where the earth cracked and
sinkhole.
It's sinkhole. Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of things. You can.
It doesn't always need to be dire, though, right? It could be something like,
it definitely.
Hey, guess what? The cell tower is under maintenance.
The network is down.
It's going to be down for half an hour.
Exactly.
And that's also kind of an alert.
It is kind of an alert because it's making you aware of something that's going to impact your day, but it doesn't have to be necessarily something that is dire.
What about interactivity? More and more we see everybody wants to interact with screens. We're interacting with screens all the time anyway. Every screen I see has fingerprints on it.
So touchscreens
Is this something I should think about when I'm looking for CMS?
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, if you think about it, you're on a touch screen all day, every day, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's times when you're not, like right now when you're doing this. But if you think about it, your phone is a touch screen.
Yeah.
Your iPad is a touch screen, right? They're a great way to engage your audience. It's something that's obviously going on in our everyday lives anyway. If you don't have touch screens right now, you may want to plan for them. And does the software allow you to take advantage of interactivity without having touch screens?
Right.
I know ours does.
What do you mean?
So you can set things to time. So if someone can't walk up to a screen, can you go ahead and tell the product to do something totally different, right? For the screen to change after a certain amount of time, or after this video plays, then it goes back to something else, and you have that video take over the whole screen on a recurring schedule,
right?
Or some ad or something else. Even though you don't have maybe a touch screen now, does the software allow you to build that type of content? And then when you do have touch screens, and you can add in your interactivity and your wayfinding and your directories and be able to find where the professor is on this level or the doctor is on this level. You don't want to buy something that doesn't support that for when you are ready, if you don't already have it.
Because that would be a real bummer to spend all this time, get the software, get everything up and going. A year later, you say, you know what, let's get some interactivity in there. Oh, this software does not support that.
Exactly. Yeah, you do not, because then you're going to go through all of this. You're going to spend more money. Yep.
And of course, I mean, you don't even need interactive screens per se. I know that there are overlays that work with some varying success that you can just place on top of a static display or screen, and it kind of sort of makes it interactive.
That is true. I'll tell you something even better. What if you just talk to the screen? So we call ours Andrew, which is named.
So these are VUIs.
This is a VUI, and this is the coolest thing ever, right? Imagine if do you really want to touch a screen out, that's in a.
Not that children have touched.
Right. And then there's that. Yes.
I don't know where those hands have been.
That's true.
But they're moist.
Yes, it's a good. That's so true. So a lot of, for example, healthcare facilities love this idea of talking to the display to tell it what you need. Show me how to get to level 5.
So this is like a smart speaker, like Alexa.
Yes, it's just Andrew here at Visix. But yes, named after the developer.
So you actually say, "Hey Andrew."
Hey Andrew.
Show me this.
Show me how to get to level 5.
Really?
Hey Andrew, how do I get to the library?
Wow, and it does it. It just changes it automatically.
It does it.
Is it only wayfinding, or can it be for other?
Oh, you can
other
do
parts?
it for directories. Oh, you can do it for a number of things.
Really? So anything that's interactive
Yeah.
through touchscreens could also be voice.
Yes.
Voice.
You could tell it to scroll 5 names, like if for a directory. So you need to get to Professor DeWitt's office.
Right, and you're just starting in A's. Like
yes,
skip
but you
5,
can't
skip
remember
5.
if it's DeWitt or if it's, I don't know, DeWhat, right? So you tell it to scroll 5.
Right.
That was a terrible example, but you get the idea. So
is
you're
it
in
DeWitt
the
or is it Pruitt?
So you're in the D's. So at least you can say scroll 5. Oh, there he is. That's him.
Yeah.
Professor DeWhat.
But if the software doesn't support that, that's not an option for you.
Exactly.
Without changing your whole CMS, and that's a whole thing.
A whole nother budget.
Right. Basically, that's why you want to ask all of these questions in advance, is so that you get what you want and what you need and something you can grow into.
Yes, and
it's
there's
like buying,
no surprises.
It's like buying clothing for children. You want something they're going to grow into, or else you got to change clothes every 6 months.
Right. And can you grow into it? Is it a platform that allows you to grow?
Exactly.
Or is it a one and done? And, sorry, you're going to actually have to buy a whole nother platform. This tier that we have over here, we can't actually add to that one. I mean,
did we forget to tell you? Oh,
right.
sorry.
Yeah. That gets back to that free stuff, that free software.
What about like sending stuff to, I don't know, tablets, BYOD devices, bring your own device type things, smartphones, things like this?
Critical, unless you're just interested in that single display that you might have, on your countertop, right?
Right.
Because again, our phones are always in front of us, right? So your audience isn't always going to be in front of your digital displays and your hallways and
hopefully they go home once in a while.
Well, that's a good idea. Or stop going to class, right? Don't sleep in the student center. You definitely want to be able to publish to, if you can publish to desktops, like even in computer labs. That's a big thing. We still have a lot of folks that are doing that. It's a very popular feature. Make sure you can publish to smartphones, websites, other bring your own device devices, so that people don't miss your messages. So all of those places that I named might not be critical to what you're trying to achieve, but it's good to ask to see if it's even there, or if it's...
Is it there? Maybe we might want to do that.
You might want to. I mean,
kind of all of the last few things we've been talking about, and we're really just asking, is it scalable? In many ways. I mean, scalable in size.
Yep.
We've been talking about scalability in features.
Yep.
But also, I might start with 5 screens or 5 displays, or in one building, but it might end up taking over a whole bunch of buildings.
Yeah, you may end up with 500. I mean,
in different geographical locations.
I was going to say across the country, across
or
continents,
or beyond. Honestly,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I know that there are companies that have we have it's the same digital signage system.
Sure.
We have it in Denver, which is our hub, and we can control the content from there to a certain extent. We've got one in Atlanta. We've got one in Saskatoon. We've got one in Sao Paulo.
Yep.
It's very tempting to go, well, let's just get the cheapest thing we can.
Right.
If you go too simple, you really just might end up paying down the line, and that's why you need to plan it all out.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
How about when we get to things like purchasing options?
This is a big question that comes up when we're at trade shows. What are my purchasing options? You may already have some hardware. You might need hardware and the software. You might need, again, if you already have the hardware, you might need software only. So ask vendors if they offer bundled solutions, right? Software only sales, cloud-based subscriptions.
Right. Do I have a lot of different possibilities there?
Yep. Because everybody's needs are a little bit different. Something we do very well is we do the best we can to fit your needs.
Right.
And I know that sounds salesy, and I'm not in sales, but that's a big deal.
That's the service industry. Everything's a service now.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I mean, that question comes up. I would say that's one of the biggest questions that I get.
Can I get a site license? Or
Yep.
is there, like you said, is there a subscription?
Yep.
Can I get a bulk discount? If I'm buying a whole bunch of stuff, hey,
Yep.
how about you help me out here, brother?
Yep, absolutely.
Or sister.
And what are the options? lines. I mean, for OPEX and CAPEX, and that all comes into play.
And then I think the last thing that you'd have to ask is you'd have to look at support, because I know that that's very often one of the big bugboos of these free, quote unquote, free digital signage software companies is they have zero support.
So you've got to make sure that they do have support, because hey, you could have a lightning strike, right? I mean, it could be an act of God, if you will, that could cause something to go out, and maybe you're not 100% positive of how to get this back on, or how do I know if my player is still working, or I don't remember where the on button is, even if it's something
I haven't had to reboot it
right,
in so
I have
long.
never had to touch this thing since it was
Right.
deployed. So having some technical support handy is really helpful. Also, does the vendor offer training? I mean, even if it's easy to use, it's new, right?
And there are going to be updates and bug fixes.
There's going to be updates. There's going to be new features. How do I know about those new features?
And do they cost?
Yeah, do they cost money, or are they included?
Right.
So it's critical.
What about
support.
like looking at if the vendor also has other things like, I don't know, design services, or will do consulting or things like this? Like, again, a company that also offers those would seem to me to be potentially valuable for a larger scale customer.
Absolutely, because if you think about it, again, this all comes down to human resources, right? And who's available, who has the talent to be that graphic designer, or maybe we don't have a graphic designer.
Right.
Maybe we have Ellyce, who thinks she's a graphic designer, but she's really just a PowerPoint,
She's actually just super ambitious.
Right, super ambitious, and not really even a PowerPoint pro, even though she thinks she is. So it's great if the company offers these types of services,
Right.
like an award-winning creative team, not to just throw that out there. That Visix
Who could you be talking
has
about?
that award-winning creative team. There's so many
Hint.
awards in the hallways that you can barely walk down the hall.
It's actually a little bit comical.
I think it's great.
It is.
I don't mind tripping over some awards.
That's right. Depending on the answers to these questions, you may not be a university or something like that. You're a junior college, let's just say. Let's use education. You're a junior college. You might expand your campus one day. You've got a handful of buildings on there. It's not that you want to have this, but hey, you know what? Infrastructure-wise, we're pretty set, and we're not really going to be changing too much. So we're looking for this. Some other kind of an organization is going to be a whole different, a medical clinic is going to be different than a hospital, which is going to be different than a general hospital.
Exactly.
So the answers to these questions will help you decide which company and which CMS is the right one for you. Look at the software before you look at the hardware. People very often want to go hardware first because it's easy and they understand it, or they think they understand it. The hardware is easy to find, and again, very often if you're working with an integrator or a reseller,
Yes.
or even some of these vendors, they may have a bunch of displays and players and things like this that they can offer as sort of a package deal.
Yeah.
It may become a one-stop shop for you. The hardware should be second, because hardware is just what's out there. You got to think about the people who are using this software every day, and you need to make it easy for them. The better the workflows and the faster that they can create and schedule messages that look great, the more reactive it can be, the more sort of real time it can be. And this is, I think, one of the strengths of digital signage.
It really is.
Oh, there's a news item and suddenly it's all over social media. Well, it shouldn't then take 3 days for that to get up on my digital signage.
No.
The 3 days today is a year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In digital signage, it is.
Yeah, in dog years.
In dog years or cat years.
So, and the interesting thing is, as you address these questions, as you answer them, it also helps you focus, and you may find that your buying criteria starts changing.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I hadn't thought about that,
You would be surprised at how often that happens. For example, during a pilot, that comes up quite a bit. Oh, we just want to do this, and then all of a sudden, there's more.
Right, they're playing around with it and
Yep.
going,
Oh, I didn't know you could do that.
well, what about this?
Yes.
And can it do this? No, but here's another way to accomplish the same goal. How interesting. Right. And I think something that you said early on there, get as many people as you can involved. All the stakeholders need to get involved in this so that they're a part of that process. So everybody's on the same page. So when launch day finally comes and you're ready to unveil it to the
Yes.
expectant world,
Yes.
Everybody knows what to expect. And
Yep.
it's going to be fantastic. And then the audience, you put in all this hard work, and the audience just goes,
Yes.
a constantly flowing spigot of quality information.
Yep.
That's beautiful.
Isn't that great?
That's a beautiful thing. So thank you very much for talking to me, Ellyce.
Thank you, Derek. It's always a pleasure to see you.
Indeed. And thank you, everybody out there, for listening. Hey, want more free stuff? Then head to the resources section of Visix.com for free masterclass guides, blogs, videos, and more to help you with your digital signs. Please share, subscribe, and leave a review of this episode and connect with us on social media.